Happy Mother's Day to every single woman that is here today and online. Whether you're a mother to a child walking with us, or a mother of a child in heaven, or maybe you're a mother of the neighborhood kids, or an aunt that carries the same type of role. Maybe you're still praying that God delivers that child to you. You could also be someone that never had a mother figure. Or maybe your mom is not here with us here today. I understand that Mother's Days can come with a lot of emotion, and some of it good and some of it not. Today, we know we love you, we stand by you, and we pray for you. Today, we are celebrating mothers as God. We should honor our moms and celebrate them. For those moms that we are celebrating you today. But most importantly, I want you to be able to leave today knowing I see you and I understand the job. The sacrificial job where we put the needs of our families and friends above our own. And my prayer today, when you leave, you should be able to know who you are. Otherwise, you will also be praying that God shows you who you are to him. That is the most important identity you will ever have. As a woman, we carry a lot of labels. As you can see up on the screen, yes. We have nurturer, wife, daughter, unqualified, baker, nurse, aunt, and the list goes on. Could anybody see any of their labels on that screen? Maybe one, two, maybe all of them? Yes? Most of the time we allow those labels to define us, and we lose who we are by comparing ourselves to others. Trying to be like the mom next door portrays to be. Keep in mind I say portrays because she's faking along right beside you. We're comparing ourselves. I know now that Chad is a pastor, I'm known around town as Pastor Chad's wife, or aren't you the wife of the pastor at Heartland? Or preacher man's wife. Shout out to you, JJ. Another is, I think, aren't you Allie, Cody, John, and Bree's mom? Yes, I am. And I'm proud of it. Chad refers to me as a sugar mama. We all find it hilarious. John's got him one. My dad referred to me as Ralph. And I missed those phone calls, and when I'd call him, and he'd say, well, hello, Ralph. What has changed in the last 5 minutes since the last time we talked? But I really, truly do miss those. My grandpa Walt called me Pipsquick. And I called him Wally Polly Ticky Tolly. So we carry many labels. And I always defined myself with these labels and took pride in them. But it wasn't until we were in California this year with Danny and Anthony that things changed on how I really thought about myself. Danny and I were sitting on her bed as she was putting stuff away, and she asked a question I couldn't answer, so I hollered at Chad, and he came in, and the conversation turned to a class that he had just completed, and he stated that in his studying, that he learned that for women to completely surrender is very difficult. I asked him why. He stated because women naturally give everything they have to others. We often put our identity in what we do, serve, or love. That we often find ourselves not worthy of that love. That we already do what Jesus calls us to do naturally. That we don't truly give ourselves completely to him. We give sacrificially already. What more can we do? It isn't that we don't sin, because we do like everybody else. But the way we are designed, it's hard for us to completely surrender. We lose ourselves in doing for others. And I thought about this and I cried. I cried because I couldn't see who I was. I find joy in serving my husband and my kids, my family and my friends. When they're happy, I'm happy. And when they're sad, I want to fix it. And if I can't fix it, I'm going to pray. And sometimes I just get upset right with them. But in all of this, I couldn't see me. Chad and Danny both asked me why I was crying. And I looked at them and said, I don't know who I am. I never took much thought about it. So that week away, I spent a lot of time in prayer and asked God to show me who I am to him. First things first, you have to dive into the Word. Taking out the outside voices and really seeing what God had to show me. By doing this, I was able to confidently know who I am, but if I'm to be completely honest with you, I already knew. I knew who I was to him. But like most of you, I place labels in front of it. I see that women since the beginning of time have been doing this. Let's take a look at Proverbs 31, 17, and 18 in the Jesus Bible ESV version. She dresses herself with strength, makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. And these two verses, we are told that we're not only physically strong, we do things well. But how many times when the kids go to bed, even though we're tired, we are catching up on dishes, laundry, the house. Let me tell you, when Brianne was living at home, and most of you know who Bree is, if a piece of clothing touched her body, it was now dirty. Even if it was on her skin for 2 seconds, it's going down the laundry chute. So I did lots of laundry while she lived at home. We're making sure that our husbands have what they need for the next day, whether it's reminding them of appointments so they don't forget, making sure their clothes are clean, and asking them what they want for dinner the next day so we can have it prepared for them. Another story came to mind in the Bible. The story of Martha and Mary in Luke 10, 38 through 42 in the Jesus Bible ESV version. Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house, and she had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen good portion, which will not be taken away from her. I found myself in this story between serving and comparing myself to others and not taking the time to just be still and hear what Jesus was saying to me. I know that my counselor that I see had me use some toys one day. And he said, show me what your family looks like to you. So I had Chad, and I had Allie, and Emmy, and Caden, and Cody, and Brooke, John, and Alana, Brianne, and Mason, all in this thing. And I was telling him and describing all of these things about them, and he said, but where are you? I said, what does it matter? This is my family. But I was so focused on making sure my family was good that I forgot who I was. And I overlooked my needs. We as moms often overlook what our needs are. We are so focused on making sure our homes are nice and welcoming, that our husbands are taken care of and our kids. And once they're good, then we go to our friends and the rest of our family. We don't ever just look into the mirror and see that what we need or who we are. I know when I was leading a small group a couple years ago, we went around and talked about who we are. One of the most profound labels that really shook us all is when one of my friends looked at us and said, "Faker." Faker? She not only called herself out, but all of us agreed. And in fact, we agreed so much that we were all going to have t-shirts made that said "Faker" on the front. I know some of you ladies remember that. But we fake our way through life. Everything's fine. I'm fine. It's good. It'll be fine. Our homes look great on the outside. Our kids are perfect. Our husbands are perfect. We all know this isn't true, but that's who we portray to be. That everything's good. Everything's fine. But ladies, why are we not joining together and living life together? I'm not talking about just our once a month, let's go out to dinner. But why are we not joining together on a regular basis? Leaning on each other, trusting each other, that knowing maybe Jane went through something that JJ's going through or Kirsten's going through. Or maybe Roberta or Danny. Why are we not coming together and leaning on each other like we should be? We're going through the same thing. We're just too prideful to ever show it. I told Allie this week, why don't you reach out to us when you need stuff? Because let me tell you what this girl did. She took her couch from inside her house, and it's a big, heavy couch. She moved it to the patio. She flipped it over the side. She went face planting and then pushed it to the curb. Why is this happening? Why? We should be joining together and reaching out our hands and say, let's do life together. Maybe Ellen has something to share, or Rose, or Karen, or Deb. Ladies, we can't be fakers. It's not gaining us anything. We're moms of some sort. We are moms, and we have to stick together. During the study, also, I wanted to make sure that God was really speaking and able to heal everybody that was there, and everybody could let out their junk. That I didn't really let my stuff out. Why? Because I already been through that study. I'm good. I got what I needed. I wasn't trying to be a faker. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We all do it. I remember growing up on the farm, being a tough farm kid. I had older brothers, and I wanted to be tough just like them. I showed cattle in 4-H. I showed sheep and pigs, which I did not enjoy at all. I sewed. I baked. I was in the fashion show. I served in the concession stands. And I went on numerous leadership conferences. I worked hard all my life. I was taught that if you can't get anywhere if you don't work hard. So in the mornings, we get up really early. We go out and do our chores. And we come out in and eat, because you don't eat before the animals eat. Plain and simple. They eat first. Then we go out or come in, eat, get ready for school, be on the bus by 7:15 in the morning, go to school all day, go to my part-time job, then come home, and again, go out and take care of the animals, because remember, you don't eat until they eat. And if it was calving season or lambing season, those nights became really long. And we may not get in until between 7 and 10 at night. And if it was one of those birthing seasons, then we're all taking turns getting up during the night to take care of them, go check them out, make sure everything was good. So when my parents told me that you have to work hard, I took that to heart and made sure I worked hard. And I missed out on a lot of life because I didn't know how to be still. And I struggle with it today. It is engraved in me, and it's almost like it's taboo for me not to be doing something. But still, God is still telling me, be still. He's saying, listen to me and not everyone around you. I read a book called Unqualified by Pastor Stephen Furtick, and if you remember a couple weeks ago, Chad mentioned him before. And I know that when Chad was just beginning his classes, and even through the first couple of years of him being our lead pastor here at Heartland, it was tough. Some of our friends and family questioned what we were doing, not being mean, but had their concerns. One day I was listening to the audio of Pastor Furtick's messages, and it's being called Unqualified. Keep in mind, he's the senior pastor at Elevation Church in South Carolina. Thousands of people in his congregations, many locations. And he was getting ready for the day. And the TV was on. And he stated he heard his name being said on the TV. So that caught his attention, and he went over to the TV and was watching it. And it was a round table of theologians. And the speaker asked one of them, said, what do you think of Stephen Furtick? And he said, unqualified. Made him mad. Of course, why wouldn't it? He's like, I'm a senior pastor. I started a church. I have thousands of people in my congregation that I help lead. And he's calling me unqualified? Then he took his feelings out of it. And he said, you're right, I am. I'm broken. I am unqualified. But God qualified me. Not my neighbor. Not my friend. God qualified me. He qualifies the unqualified. God makes us all unique. And he didn't make a mistake. Why do we keep comparing ourselves to others? Why do we tear people down, make them feel dumb for doing something? Getting from point A to point C, it doesn't matter as long as you get there. So what that somebody doesn't do it just like you? It's okay. It's not a big deal. You may have a certain way you like things. But as long as it gets done, what does it matter? Why do we tear each other down? Why are we moms not sticking together? Because I remember 20-some years ago, Chad and I were talking about getting engaged. And he looked at me and he said, remember, I'm a package deal. You can't have me if you don't have my kids. Thing is I love those kids. Allie, Cody, and John, they're mine. I may not have birthed them. They may have a wonderful mom. But I got to be their bonus mom. But I was so unqualified. I was young. I partied. How was I going to come into their lives and be something to them? Thing is that God qualified me. It didn't matter what anybody else said. Because I don't have stepkids. I have 4 children. They're mine. And don't ever mess with them. Mama Bear comes out. Ask John. Quit letting other people disqualify you from what God has qualified you to do. No matter what it is, what you're doing in life, if God has qualified you, it doesn't matter what other people say or do. Because if that was true, Chad and I wouldn't be here. Plain and simple, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be Allie, Cody, and John's stepmom. I wouldn't. I didn't let anybody else tell me I couldn't do it. God told me I could. And I love them. I'm never going to parent like Danny. She laughs. But Danny's never going to parent like me. JJ's never going to love like me. And I'm never going to love like JJ. And those people that need to be reached, God qualified you to reach those people when he tapped you on the shoulder, when you crossed their paths. You bring them to us, we're not going to be able to reach them because God qualified you to reach them. You're not going to be able to touch the lives that we're able to because God qualified us to do that. Don't take your roles lightly. You can't. Because God's doing something big and he's qualifying us, but most of the time we're disqualifying ourselves. You're all a mother in some way. Some way you're a mom. You've touched somebody's life. You've mentored somebody. You're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a niece, you're a nana. All of these, but if we can't find our true identity in all these, it doesn't matter about all those other labels. So as I welcome the worship team back up to the stage as I'm finishing up, in 1 Peter 3:4, the ESV version, it reads, "You should be known for your beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so special to God." Doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, doesn't matter what your house looks like. God's not looking at that. He's looking on what your heart and your soul is speaking to you. So who am I? That week in California, I prayed and talked to God. I was quiet. Well, I was quiet as I possibly could be for me. I was listening to what God was telling me, and truth be told, I knew who I was, but I was making things way too complicated. I was comparing myself to my friends, to my mom, my mother-in-law. But you know who I am? I'm a child of God, and I am his servant. He didn't ask me to be his servant. I chose to be his servant. I serve others and love others. Things I already do, but I have allowed all the other labels to overshadow who I am. My question to you, who is God calling you to be? Are you listening to him, or like me, making it complicated and allowing the outside influencers in? Allowing all the other labels take the front seat? Are you allowing others in your mind and your heart to tell you who you are? Or are you allowing God to speak and be heard? Are you needing to slow down and be still in his presence? Do you know your worth? Are you able to fully surrender to God? Because knowing who Jesus is in our life and allowing him to take control are two totally different things. Once we know who we are, God can use us in his fullest potential for his kingdom. Father God, we come to you today, and I just thank you for each and every mom in this place. Whether they're an aunt or still wishing and praying that they had that baby. No matter what their role is that they're carrying, Lord, I ask that you cover them, Deb and Debbie, and Judy and Jane and Aunt Barb and Kirsten and Danny and Karen and Roxy and Rose and Carrie and Keeney and JJ and Ellen and Vicky and Sherry and Brenda and Allie. I pray that you lift them up so they can feel you and know who they are to you, whether they're praying to you right now knowing that they don't know who they are. I was a preacher's wife, and I still didn't know who I was until I really thought about it. Lord, I just ask you to be with them as they're figuring out who they are and knowing that they don't have to compare themselves to anybody, Lord. That you've qualified them for the job that they're doing. You have qualified them. Nobody else, it doesn't matter. You qualified them. Lord, Lord, I just ask that you're with everybody today and that they feel your presence and they feel the joy that only you can bring. Lord, today, as we give our tithes and offerings, that we give with a joyous heart, with a grateful heart, because we have nothing if it wasn't for you. We would have nothing. We're reaching people outside this building, and we reach people inside this building. So, Lord, as we come to you, I give this all in your Son's precious name. Amen.